It's Friday, March 12th. It's getting off to a little bit of a slow start, but that's okay because it's Friday. Gonna ease into Friday. A lot of nonsense.
Is that not caffeinated root beer?
A little bit of root. No, it's not, this root beer is not. It's more sugar than caffeine. So I'm sort of coming down off the sugar high. I'm gonna have a little bit of coffee and wake me up.
Nice. That's what you want to do. You want to just daisy chain those drugs.
Yes.
Just keep it elevated at all times.
Caffeine.
Well, you know who was hyped recently? It was SpaceX. Because if you were watching their official stream, you saw that Starship go up, come down, touchdown, and perfectly land. And it was like
stuck the
fade to
landing.
black, and they're like, wow, they're amazing. But that was not the end of the show.
SpaceX Mars prototype rocket nails the landing for the first time, but explodes on the pad. Now, Elon Musk said this is not an explode. This is rapid dissipation of excess methane.
Rapid expansion of gas. Is there another word for that?
An explosion.
So, this is, again, you always have to point out, this is why they test. They're not necessarily brokenhearted about this. They've learned something from it, but it is a little alarming considering that eventually there's supposed to be people in that.
I initially thought this was just more Elon Musk doublespeak, but I looked at the project schedule, and it actually, on the project schedule, it says they don't expect to be doing like the reusable thing until 2023. So this is actually a pretty good early result in that case.
Yeah, I suppose so. Meanwhile, NASA has put their wonderful new robot on Mars, and it's always really cool when we get a new robot on Mars because they always have even better image capture and research abilities, and we get amazing stuff like this.
NASA's Perseverance rover sends us stunning images because, of course, it's running Linux.
Yeah, it doesn't look too exciting, the Martian surface.
It looks like Nevada.
There's you see all the from the landing, that amazing landing that it did, all these parts that it just shed off. It doesn't need them anymore.
Littering the Martian landscape.
There's a selfie. Actually, that's from the orbiter. So yeah, pretty cool. Perseverance has a really nice camera, and it's sending back some nice pictures. If you're into that kind of thing, and who isn't? And if you are into that kind of thing, another thing that you're probably into is the Spot robot. They never called it Spot here. Did you notice that?
I did, yeah.
But it's definitely Spot, right?
It seems like it. It's Boston Dynamics.
Is it supposed to be like after you buy it, you can rebrand it? Is that the thing?
Maybe the first one they had was named Spot, and Digidog is the kind of thing that Spot was.
No, I think they call him Spot, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
Engagement challenge.
Digidog,
Gosh, Yahoo,
a robot dog used by the police, stirs privacy concerns. So the author of this article is just catching up to where we were 2 years ago.
But here's the thing about it. So AOC, she got her soundbite out of this, and she said that this is state-of-the-art, like, amazing new stuff, obviously. These are robots we've never even thought about before. And it's going into low-income, people of color communities. And when else have you seen technology like this go into those communities when it's not enforcement-related?
Never.
Now, here's my counter to that. The first thing they used Digidog for was a hostage situation where they were burning a man with a hot iron to make him reveal where he was keeping his $2,000. When was the last time that happened in a suburban neighborhood?
I'm having trouble remembering.
So maybe we do need these dogs in those severe situations that might not happen in other places.
So what you're saying is Michigan is going to get a lot of these around Detroit.
I'm saying you assign the dog where you have the problems. That's how it works. I will say, I think if you're going to go after the highest criminal activity, let's have these just wandering the Capitol.
Maybe we need some sort of... Yeah. I was just going to say maybe we need some sort of... social programs or whatever. Maybe we can make Escape from New York a social program where it's like, all right, you have something to contribute and positively offer society. We're going to offer you a ticket out of New York City. You're going to go here. You can live in the suburbs. It's like the economic impact of that. Like, yeah, we're investing a little bit of money, but we're going to get a lot of money out of you. Or if you screw up really bad, like if you're, somebody in a suburban neighborhood and you're just a really terrible person, You're going straight to New York.
You know who we could get to help with this? Jinping. Because that's what you're describing.
He's got some space. You're going to activity camp.
But what about, the people, the worst people? Should we build some sort of, like maybe a camp for them, right? Yeah. That's been done before. Didn't work out.
Who decides who the people that are awful are? Are we doing that, out in the open?
The Digidog and his cloud processing will
Oh man, can you imagine the YouTube algorithm deciding who goes to those camps or not? It would be really bad.
And think about, it's going to be one of those situations where
that's where we're headed.
You're like, no, you got this wrong. This is just somebody with my same name, and you can't talk to a human, and you can't get past the robot.
Yeah, I have that. That's happening.
So yeah, it's terrifying, but it seems like we are going there. I definitely don't think we should have robot police. That's going to be a problem. Even if they're those cool little spots.
The algorithm deciding who's guilty? Yeah, that's great.
Also, how long does it take somebody who's running heroin in a Chicago high-rise to figure out how to quickly and easily disable a spot?
I was thinking about it from the other angle. It's like, you remember how, there's certain police that will turn off their body cam and they're like super corrupt and blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting here thinking, and it's like, if it was like, an Alexa level intelligence police robot that was like stopping me and questioning me or whatever, I think I would almost prefer that with its programmed levels of corruption and inherently, biased algorithms versus an individual.
You probably get less overall people affected by it, but the people who are affected are going to have a worse time.
So like the YouTube algorithm.
Probably, yeah. And the other thing about YouTube is you have to wonder if they're going to take some steps to try to do something about this, because people are very terrified of this, and it is amazing.
Here's how worried you should be about those Tom Cruise deepfakes. It turns out there was a team of pros behind the TikTok videos that sent the internet into a panic. So this was done by a professional actor. So they really dotted their I's and crossed their T's with the deepfakes. But the deepfakes are very good, and they use Tom Cruise audio from the various movies.
Very impressive, and you would be hard-pressed to tell the difference if you really tried. And we know, based on how people consume media these days, nobody's trying.
Yeah.
That you're looking at it for a second, you're on to the next thing.
Looking at it for a second on a really terrible mobile phone.
That's right, yeah, because it's TikTok. They did point out that after this became massively popular, Tom Cruise registered a TikTok. He hasn't posted anything yet. And speaking of bots doing terrible things, some people, Reuters being those people, are claiming that they were actually a big player in our recent Wall Street excitement.
This Reuters article says that bots hyped up GameStop on major social media platforms, according to analysts. Also, as I post this, people on Wall Street Bets are reporting that Melvin Capital's up 22% as a result of correctly gaming with the apes of Wall Street Bets.
If you can't beat them, join them, right? Now, here's the thing about this. The way they measured this is they said, we saw a lot of posts on Reddit and other social media that went on a schedule, but also had the exact same content. And they believe that is proof that they were bots. I would say that they are underestimating the level of human-robot synergy that the average Wall Street Bets user experiences in their own mind. And the two waves were 9:30 and 4 o'clock.
Right after you get to work and right after you go home.
No, that's the open and close of the market.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they were talking their book at the beginning, at the market open, and at the market close. I don't know if that's guaranteed a bot. And they all said stuff like diamond hands and to the moon, and it's a bunch of robots just regurgitating things. That's who they are.
They prefer to be called apes, not robots.
Wow.
They identify as apes? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
So anyway, I'm not sure if I believe that, but I'm sure there are some bots trying to contribute. When the bots are not manipulating the stock market, sometimes they enjoy the arts.
Kinky and absurd, the first AI written play isn't Shakespeare, but it has its moments. I did not read it. I just trusted the article author to tell me a little bit about it, and they really didn't tell me all that much.
Well, the thing about it is the Kirill, I don't know how to pronounce that accent, but this guy actually helped it quite a bit. Now, this is GPT-2, which is not great compared to the
GPT-3.
I mean, Google's got the one that's even beyond that now.
Yeah. The trillion parameter AI.
Right. So GPT-2 does have to be trained, and you do have to sort of hold its hand a little bit. So this is not written completely by AI. He gave it the idea.
And yet.
So they say kinky and absurd because just from playing AI Dungeon and, like seeing what GPT-3 can do, the source materials tend to be sexual and violent because we're humans. And so the AI becomes sexual and violent, which is probably a good way to entertain people. Let's be honest. This was interesting. I saw the headline and I added it, but the limitations are pretty severe, don't you think?
Yeah. Solar cars driving on sunshine, and as it turns out, balsa wood. So this is an amazing solar car. It gets 40 miles on the typical sun that you can expect on a California afternoon.
But that's the whole day.
Yeah.
You have to have the whole day to get that 40 miles. So if you drive to work and there's a storm, you might not be getting home.
Well, it's got a battery and all that kind of stuff. It can just self-charge. But yeah, it's made out of balsa wood. It's being qualified right now for safety, which I'm going to tell you right now is like if you have the most minor fender bender with a traditional vehicle, it's going to total that thing.
But the battery's on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about stuff coming in on you except the other car.
Yeah.
And their giant steel cage.
Yep.
That's just going to
You're going to die.
roll over you.
You're going to die.
But you'll be doing so much for the planet while you die.
Dying probably does more for the planet than living in that case.
Disclaimer, we are not suggesting you kill yourselves. But was it 30 grand?
Yeah, well, we don't know yet because it's
pretty pricey for what you're getting there.
It's prototype. Yeah, because it's balsa wood. Yeah, $30,000 for a balsa wood car. It seems a little excessive.
Also, how many years do you think those panels are good for before just
like 5
road debris and stuff
yeah
takes them out?
Oh man, they get behind a gravel truck. It's just not even the first year. They didn't even make it a year.
Yeah, something like that. So, I'm not going to early adopt the solar car.
That's something I didn't even consider with like the balsa wood. Like those little pieces of gravel, they're basically projectiles. You don't have an eighth of an inch of steel to protect you anymore.
Look what Tesla discovered after they got on the roads. It was like, oh wow, the roads are a lot more violent than we ever imagined when we built these cars.
Yeah, and wet.
Yeah. Here in Kentucky, and many of you are in the same boat with us. At least here, like in the middle east part of the country. Weather, we had the brutal ice storms, and then we had the floods, as if God had broken his covenant with Eastern Kentucky and tried to flood us again. And so we're definitely feeling these major storms, but there was one we didn't even know about.
Scientists have spotted a space hurricane swirling above the magnetic North Pole. It was raining charged solar particles. So this is basically a solar flare. This happens. Other planets in the solar system have this kind of thing. It's a neat thing. It's kind of like the Aurora Borealis on steroids.
How much mana do you think this costs to cast the plasma storm?
The sun? Like 2.
Or whoever's doing it. 2. How many mana does the sun have?
A lot. The sun's basically Fusoya from Final Fantasy II.
I love these stories because, like animals being human is great, but it's even better when the animal being human is hideous and ugly and not something we consider human.
A cephalopod has passed a cognitive test designed for human children. It's the marshmallow test. It's like, all right, they gave it crab, but they sort of made it understand that if you don't eat the crab right away and you wait a little bit, you'll get shrimp instead. And cephalopods much prefer eating shrimp to crab.
So they did a control, and in the control experiment, they marked it one way to let it know that this door is never going to open. And in the non-control, they mark it in a way to say this will open in 15 seconds. If you don't eat that crab, they figured it out.
Neat.
That is crazy. I didn't realize cuttlefish were cephalopods. Those are the ones that can rapidly change colors, right? Those are so cool. But don't get one for your home aquarium because they can suffer. We know that about them now. They are miserable in your home. This one is a great one. And did you immediately see it or did you have to be told?
I had to be told.
I didn't like. Actually, I read the headline and I was like, wait, what? How? What's wrong with it? And then I was like, oh, yeah.
Amazon quietly changed its app icon after some unfavorable comparisons.
All right, so engagement challenge. Before you hear the rest of it, pause the video. Can you figure out what the one on the left is being compared to? I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, we definitely should not say it for monetization reasons.
I will say it was an unpopular politician.
That's an understatement.
What do you think? You think the designer's still working there? We really need Krista for this one.
Yeah, we really do. I don't know. Is it that monitor, or did they subtly change the brown as well?
No, I think you're right. Just darkened it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be less of a skin tone? Because
probably.
we don't want to associate it with a face even now.
Yeah, I think they should have gone more for the cardboard brown though.
What if somebody grows a little mustache and then like folds one side of it up? Do you remember the original story about this guy? He wanted a girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
So this guy was looking for a girlfriend that he could basically take into space as a captive and do God knows what with during his journey around the moon. It didn't work out. I think he got some bad feedback that he wasn't prepared for, but he has not been stopped. He still intends to go on this trip.
Maezawa wants you. A Japanese billionaire seeks a crew for the moon trip. So he's launched a search for 8 people to join him on the first private passengers in a trip around the moon with Elon Musk's SpaceX. So, but he said he's not started training yet, although he is drinking water and doing a little bit more exercise than he normally does. But he's going to have to go into a few months of intensive training for the trip whenever it actually does happen.
They asked him about the Starship exploding on the pad because, that's probably what he'll be in or some future version of that. And he said he trusted Musk explicitly and wasn't worried at all about it. He said Musk told him it'd be fine. It was going to be fine.
Well, that's how it always is in the comics with the supervillains.
Yeah, but which one's the supervillain? I mean, both these guys could be supervillains, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, he also said that originally he only wanted artists to go with him. I guess he didn't get a lot of response from that. So now he's saying if you're an artist in your own mind, you can still apply. You don't have to prove your art.
Neat.
We should make Krista apply.
She would probably be unhappy.
She has no desire to go around the moon, I'm sure.
I would love to go around the moon, but that's
I don't know if I would want to commit the kind of time you have to
that would be problematic
to get through it all.
Yeah.
You got to pass the physical.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That would be tough.
Yeah. This headline is a lie. Straight, just Gizmodo just lied to us on this one.
They really
This
did.
does not exist.
Scientists have invented light-up OLED tattoos, except not really. That's a picture of some really tiny OLEDs that could kind of sort of be implanted, but it's not really a tattoo because it's under the skin.
Except this stuff that they've made doesn't work with skin yet. It only works on plastic.
Well, I thought they had a picture of somebody's hand with the stuff like on the top of their hand.
But that's just stuff people have done on their own.
Because they're terrible?
They just get those micro LEDs and put a little power source under there and get that inductive charging.
Yeah.
So that's not what they have here. What they have breaks down when you stretch it, and the skin flexes way too much for it. But they think that someday they'll have it. Now, if you're wondering why they're working on this,
because somebody will pay for it.
I think they're trying to target the medical industry. Like,
it'd be neat. It's like, oh, I seem to be having a stroke.
Yeah, and they said that it could be like, eventually you could have an LED tattoo on your arm that's like, oh, hey, by the way, you're dehydrated, or your blood oxygen is low. Do something about that. Blood sugar, that'd be a big one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist. So don't get hyped about it. We, how was it, like a couple years ago, we got all those declassified UFO videos and stuff like that.
Of the ducks?
People argue about the ducks. Who knows? But now we have another one to add to the list.
FBI has confirmed a report of a long cylindrical UFO moving really fast over New Mexico. The airplane pilot actually described it as a cruise missile. However, the FBI has said, it wasn't one of ours.
Now, this is somewhat near the White Sands missile testing range, but the government says, no, we definitely weren't testing any experimental missiles that day.
And it was on a Sunday, which, most of the time the military is not doing testing on a Sunday.
But if you wanted to test something really secret, maybe do it on a Sunday.
What was that thing?
Anyway, I doubt we'll get any answers about this.
I really, would have loved to have known from the pilot, because I checked several more sources. It's like, did it have a rocket trail? Did you see exhaust? Or was it just moving on its own? Did it change direction rapidly and without warning? Or did it move like a rocket? Because those inquiring minds want to know.
He'd be like, well, I looked up a little bit, but I was hitting the pipe the second time when the back of it passed over, so I wasn't looking.
As you do.
Yeah. In the cockpit of a commercial airliner. That's not true. He was not abusing drugs. In Toronto, the housing market has not cooled down. In fact, it's gotten worse. And actually, we've seen this property before, and the price has increased.
Dilapidated garage hits the Toronto housing market for $729,000. Good Lord.
So you get this little piece of land. Now you can see there's a building on either side of it. It's not very much land. And you get this nice garage and a parking spot. They have a back view as well. Look how good that looks.
It really wouldn't be terrible if you made it 2 stories.
It would definitely be terrible. This is Toronto. I mean, do you think there's any insulation in that?
No.
You would die in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, $600,000 last time, gone up 130. Because why not for that piece of property, right?
Makes the houses around here that have gone up dramatically not seem terrible by comparison.
Once again, I'm sure Krista would be speaking on this topic. She's in her new house right now.
Yeah, ignoring us.
And you. This is a funny one because where on the chain of command at BBC, what level failed? Was it executive? Was it just like
it's probably the reporter,
the handler?
I think the executives trust the reporters to figure this stuff out.
This is pretty embarrassing, no matter who it was.
The BBC has apologized for interviewing an imposter claiming to be Senator Cory Booker. Whoops.
Now, this was a Zoom type of thing, I think, right? So you can maybe be forgiven a little bit for that. And they were talking about the Crown Prince murder thing. And I don't know what this guy's take on it, but it wasn't Cory Booker. How do you figure out that you can get away with that? Is this going to be used as like the we can't tell black people apart?
No, I thought it was actually something to do with the journalist that died. Like I thought he said something really unpopular, and then he got a call from the deep state or whatever, and then it was like, no, that wasn't me. That was an imposter, and it's like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes these people, when they do this, they keep getting more and more inflammatory with what they say, waiting for the reporter to pick up on it, and they never do. Because they're just, they're reading. They're not listening. They're just sort of reacting. That's journalism these days.
Yeah.
And if you hearken back to a simpler time and what many people consider to be a better time, you could also get in trouble. Because more and more, we must go back and dig up all these things from the past and destroy them.
Canceled Dr. Seuss books. They're selling for thousands of dollars online. Dr. Seuss Enterprises announced Tuesday that it would stop selling 6 Dr. Seuss titles. Now, in fairness, those 6 titles, they probably do have some racist componentry in them.
Do you understand what it is? Because I don't.
Some of them, so Dr. Seuss, on the whole, was a wholesome and wonderful individual. But there are some things that he did, especially early on in his career, that were a little bit racist.
You ever see his political cartoons? Because they've been posting a lot of those.
Yeah, they're not the best. But he was aware of that, and that doesn't really negate the good things that he did. Because like a lot of his books teach children things like empathy, and this is you can't reduce a person to, they're all good or they're all bad.
Have you not been watching the media?
Well, I'm just saying, it's like it seems like it's really odd to pick Dr. Seuss and not say like von Braun for rocketry or some of the other medical advances. Or
we're not reading the works of von Braun to our children. There's a little difference there. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. But yeah,
but a lot of the works that we are reading to children, especially his later works, they're very good at teaching children what are still the correct things.
You think the Grinch will run this Christmas?
I mean, what if somebody were able to twist the story of the Grinch into something much more racist? Like the Grinch is an allegory for some protected class.
The Grinch was the only green one.
I mean, that's what we run the risk of when it was really meant to be, an abstract for.
He's a monster of color.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. I still don't understand what. I don't care enough to look into it, but like no one has ever shown me the exact pages of like, this is what's racist.
I think if I were Dr. Seuss and I were looking at, looking at this, and it's like, wow, 80 years after my death, people are still looking at this, and like, it still resonates with people somehow. And it's like, yeah, I got some stuff wrong, but people still talk about it, and I still contribute positively to the American experience. I think I would be okay with that.
What if you were Walt Disney?
No, Walt Disney was a terrible human.
He was just more successful.
Yeah. No, that's an even better point than von Braun. Should we cancel Disney? I mean, arguably, Disney did some really bad things personally to his animators, like scary bad stuff.
What about Ford?
Ford also not. I think Disney on that scale was a little worse. Even though he got, Ford got a lot of things from, he had a lot of fans in Germany, let's say, and he didn't super resist that fandom.
We should do, what's hot right now on YouTube is like ranking items. We should rank historical Americans on like racism and evil.
No, deservability to be canceled. And like Disney and Ford would be right up there, and Dr. Seuss would be way at the end.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be on the list. There's so many more to put in there. So yeah, we should point out that when we say they who canceled Dr. Seuss were the people who are running his estate right now. I guess it's his descendants or whatever.
Yeah, they did the Disney thing where they looked at that and said, "Oh, we've got a Song of the South situation here. We need to just cancel that."
What they wanted to do was make sure that most of the Seuss library continued to sell.
Yeah,
as they have always done. They are perennial. This one was pretty light on facts, and I was very
it was misleading.
I was unhappy to find out that like most of these photos and videos of stuff were stock photos about other cats who had done this.
Yes.
Not the offending cat.
Yeah. Plane forced to return to airport after cat attacks pilot. So that cat was a feral cat. The flight was out of Qatar, and that's not the first time it's happened, but like the cat got up in the wheel well or something, then it got loose in the cabin, and it attacked the pilot, so they had to land. And this is a stock photo of a cat being unhappy.
Neither of which display the cat. Now, they did talk about how they had to partially disassemble the cockpit to remove the cat.
Yeah.
As a cat owner, I can tell you that seems completely plausible because they will stuff themselves into some tiny, tiny, tiny places after they turn the garbage can over.
Yeah.
Toast likes to get behind the dryer. That's his safe space. It is a pain to pull that out every time.
Mom's cat, it's under the bed, and it's just.
Oh, how's the cat doing?
It's got to have its teeth pulled, and the vet has pushed back the date because the vet is just too busy to have its teeth pulled. So the cat is kind of miserable. It's gonna probably pull through, but it's got to have 2 or 3 of its teeth pulled.
Do you have to go like straight soft food after that?
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. I guess there's no implants or crowns for cats, is there? Well, if that cat has to be put down, which, you're probably looking at that in a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's 18. So, I mean...
It really only has one choice. But what if it had more?
South Carolina Senate adds firing squad as an alternative execution method. This cat is so scared of everything, you could probably just, pop a paper bag and it would die.
I don't know. So what do you think? What's happening here is obviously lethal injection is considered to be the most humane way to do it. They can't get the drugs.
So electrocution or...
Which would you pick?
I would probably pick... If I couldn't get the drugs, because drugs would definitely be the first choice, I would probably go for firing squad.
I think so too, yeah. I don't know what kind of round they use. I assume they use a 308 or some 30 caliber kind of round.
If you survived, are you pardoned?
I don't think so, no. But there's 6 or 7 guys shooting. You ain't going to survive. And they're aiming for your heart. Now, if it's a 308 or like a big rifle caliber, the wound channel gets to be like about that. And then your body's elastic and it comes back up down. But if that goes through your heart and your heart just disassembles like that, I got to think it's instant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right out.
Well, no, when they beheaded you in middle England, it was like blink a couple of times if you survived. It's like you survived for 30 seconds a minute.
Without a head. Is the brain, do you die faster losing the brain or the heart? Because once the blood stops, everything's on a timer.
Yeah.
Engagement challenge. Has anybody been shot by a firing squad? Yeah, I think I would take the bullets.
Yeah, I think electrocution just seems like it would be unpleasant.
I mean, your whole body's going to lock up.
Yeah.
And you can break your jaw just biting.
Yeah.
You can snap your jaw. That's cyanide. If you take cyanide, you'll break your jaw. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
You know what else sounds awful? Being a Boy Scout. Because of what we know about the Boy Scouts and the things that go on there. This is kind of like the whole Catholic school thing. What are you doing sending your kids here? Do you not read these headlines? Well, they're in a lot of trouble, and they're trying to raise money to clear up these lawsuits.
Boy Scouts are going to sell their Norman Rockwell paintings to help pay their abuse claims. So Norman Rockwell was a famous American painter. He painted the never really existed ideal American situations, like the Thanksgiving photo,
like these Boy Scouts who were emotionally healthy and not scarred for life.
All forms of summer camp scar you for life. It's fine.
This one's different.
It's not fine.
So I mean, it's just so crazy because they're not just saying, hey, we have a bit of a problem with molestation here. They're saying that we have so many lawsuits that the insurers are going to drop us and we have to get money another way. To me, another way of phrasing that is the Boy Scouts should end.
Sure seems like it.
You know what we got to do? We got to replace the counselors are the weak link here, right?
Who's vetting the people that are with the children?
They're the ones doing the diddling. So, how about this? Spot robot dogs.
The robot scouts. I could get behind that.
Running the camp, yeah. You march them out to the lake. You watch them.
I mean, if Johnny 5 was my camp counselor, that would be a lifetime of positive memories. I would forever spend the rest of my life trying to get back to that level of happiness.
Well, there you go, folks. Let's start that GoFundMe. Robot-controlled summer camp. I'm not going to be involved because I hate children. But I guess I wouldn't have to, right? Just send the robots.
Yeah.
This one, I was a little bit upset that there was no video. Oh, wait, there is a video. Oh, my ad blocker must have blocked that.
There's a video, but there's a distinct lack of doctors weighing in and saying, well, I guess this is fine.
This is kind of similar to gavaging, don't you think?
It's dark. It's very dark. Dad makes baby beer bong to make daughter drink more milk. Quote unquote, parenting done right, says netizens. So she's underweight. She doesn't have a lot of an appetite. So this was this father's strategy to get his daughter to eat more to gain more weight.
But here's the thing about it. There's a nipple at the end of that tube. So the whole idea of a beer bong is using gravity to just pound it down. But the nipple at the end stops that.
Well, but you still have the pressure behind it. So she's having to do much less work to get more.
How much PSI, you're not going to know this, engagement challenge. How many PSI can the natural female nipple generate when fully loaded?
There goes the monetization. Oh, no.
Now, the wife weighed in on this, and she said, "Oh, I'm thinking of getting a water bong for myself so I can stay hydrated." I'll tell you, the water bong's going to give you a dry mouth. He doesn't get that.
I don't understand.
We saw a few weeks ago that, what's his name? Paul. The brothers buy the Pokemon cards.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
He bought millions of dollars worth of Pokemon cards, and I think they were older. But I said to myself, are Pokemon cards still a big thing?
Turns out.
And then we found out last week the guy used his katana to rob the Magic the Gathering cards. And I said, are those still a big thing? I am out of touch with collectible cards, but people still want them, and they'll do anything to get them.
Pokemon card theft ring busted in Onslow County, deputies say. They were stealing Pokemon cards from an Eastern Carolina Walmart?
The old barcode swap. You print your own barcodes for a similar item. You stick them on there. You self-checkout. It's all good. Until they look at the cameras and run the database back because they record every piece of data in their store. It doesn't work.
You didn't pay cash, did you?
Even
and
then,
only do it the once.
Even then, you be on the cameras.
Yeah.
Because they're going to notice that.
You got to drive to a Walmart you're never going to go to again.
I always buy my cat food. Like if they have a big cat food sale, but they only sell it per can. So you have to load up, like 50 cans into your cart. And so all the different flavors are mixed around. And so many times they'll swipe one and just key it in. And I'm like, dude, that inventory system.
You've messed up your inventory.
I'm going to come next week and we're going to have all one flavor of cat food based on what you just did.
I got 7 flavors of cat food here and you couldn't be bothered to key that in.
So it's a similar thing. You got to keep in mind big data in grocery stores is running wild. You can't get away with this kind of thing. How much do you think, what was their net profit if they were able to sell those cards at street value?
Probably like $100.
That's a big risk to take.
Yeah.
For $100. And our final story, I feel like
our viewers are intimately familiar with this one.
My whole world is living this and asking myself, am I the only one who thinks this? Because it's endemic. And apparently I'm not the only one.
People literally don't know when to shut up or keep talking. Science confirms. So both participants in a conversation don't know when to stop talking, and both of them would prefer that the conversation stopped at an earlier point. But this is a thing that keeps happening. Sometimes I'll ramble about a story on and on and on while Krista and Ryan are climbing the walls to get away. I don't know. I just like talking.
I thought they had a breakdown of charts and stuff in here.
They had a little thing that was...
But 64% are the ones who think that conversations go on too long. But there was also some people who felt that other people didn't say enough. I think the problem here is that everybody has a different yardstick in terms of what's too much and what's too little. But I do think there should be an internal voice. When you start hitting like a minute 30, and no one else has said anything, and you're just still going, there should be a little bell.
Yeah.
It's like ding, ding, ding. No one cares. The no one cares bell.
Also, sometimes people will respond to what you're saying, but you can tell their heart isn't in it. They just want you to know that they know.
Or they've been waiting to talk and not listen.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Maybe we should make an app. I mean, we'd have to turn the microphone on all the time. People wouldn't like that. But.
How cool would it be if a societal norm happened where you could, discreetly hit your button and make a certain tone, and that tone was just accepted as like social etiquette to be like you were waiting to talk, you weren't listening.
See, here's the thing about it. I try really hard to drop social cues in some of these situations. And some people just cannot get them. At all. Also, Krista, Krista has this thing, and we've had this conversation many times, where I like to just pure silence. I like that thunderous silence at the end of someone talking forever. And it's just like, let's just relish in this. You just realize that no one cares. And Krista cannot stand the silence. It makes her insanely uncomfortable.
You got to feel it.
So she'll pop out a question and the lecture will continue. And it's like, what? What have you done? And I'll confront her about it later. And she's like, I can't help it. I'm like, did you want more of that? No, I just can't help it. So, different psychoses, I guess, bumping against each
Blah,
other.
blah, 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 blah. Thanks. I'll get back to you. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks. Blah, 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 blah.
You know who was
Thanks.
killing me is the guy who did my trees. Because he was like, yeah, I got a pole saw. And it's, it's like, it does this. And it was something like, yeah. So these are the trees. And I'm going to go back in the house. Yeah, also I got to, let me show you my trailer. It's like, what? It's a trailer. I've seen it. Put the trees on it. Get the hell out of here.
It is, the conversation is easier when everybody has a purpose. It's like, our purpose for having this meeting today is this. We need to get this done as soon as possible, and then we get our time back.
Also, the small talk. Now, I've noticed, and do you do this on purpose? You are arrive 2 minutes late to the Zoom kind of guy.
Yes.
Is that tactical?
That is.
Because I'll show up and it's just me and the presenter, and it's like, oh yeah.
No, I've been conditioned to do that.
I might start doing that.
It's crazy because I have no sense of time, so it's especially wasteful. Like, if I'm in the groove working, I can't trust myself to stop at the correct time, even if I've got a reminder set. Like, I may be so tuned out I don't see the reminder. So I'm literally just panic sweating there for 15 minutes before the meeting, trying to time it to be just right.
Oh, the modern problems of the computer janitor.
It is just torture.
Well, we'll see.
But you know what's not torture is Linode. Thanks again, Linode. Be sure to check out our affiliate link. Level up your skills, and maybe you can write some software, put that software for sale, and then you can be even more of a computer hermit.
Give Google and Apple 30% of your income.
Well, if you sell it directly on Linode, you don't owe them a dime, just for the service.
That's true. A nice cloud service. Get some subscriptions for that. It's the wave of the future.
Yeah. If you write a really nice AI, image handling program that automatically does stuff with images, you could charge people arbitrary amounts of money and host it on Linode and just make all kinds of money.
Or use your Linode proof of concept to find some angel investors and just bail out in a couple of years. Leave somebody else with the mess. That's the real way to do it.
Nice. All right. We'll see you next week.